Welcome back, guys, to another episode of OPH Outdoors. Alright guys, here in today's video, it's starting to cool down. It's really fall time right now. Consistently temps in the high 50s, low 60s. Water temps have dropped down to that 60-degree mark. So really right now is the fall time bite here in Ohio. Really, the fishing here right now is kind of tough. Me and Skylar just fished a tournament the other day. I'll post a recap of that here in the next day or two. But it was tough. It's a tough bite right now until it starts to get to the really cold weather, maybe down into the 40s and 50s, and then the bite will start to pick back up a little bit for us. But yeah, for now, the bite's kind of tough, but I wanted to go into my top 5 fall fishing baits or techniques to throw. So that's what we're going to do today, guys, and I've got 5. I've got one that kind of joins in with one of my favorites. So yeah, let's get into my top 5 fall fishing baits. Alright guys, starting off, just get this one out of the way. This one works any time of year. I've caught a ton of fish in the spring in it. I caught some fish in the summer in it when I couldn't catch them on anything else. And this fall and really this past weekend at the tournament, the only thing I was getting bites on were on this too. And that is a Ned rig. Honestly, a lot of people down it because they say that a Ned rig, it's a little finesse bait. You're not going to catch any good fish on it. And honestly, I completely disagree. I've caught my biggest smallmouth on it. I've caught 2, 3, or 4 pounders this year on it out at a local reservoir, and I've caught a lot of fish on it, and all of them have good size too. So this works really good. Right now in Ohio, since we're in that 60-degree mark, the smallmouth still haven't completely worked back up to the top of the water column. So this is a good bait to throw, get it down in deep water. It still kind of mimics baitfish if you choose the right color. This is just the color that happened to work good the other day. It's like a purple flake, like a brown and purple flake. So this just worked good the other day. But it mimics baitfish, or it mimics just that a little ball of bait or something down in the bottom of the water column for the smallmouth to eat. Yeah, you can throw this anywhere, up shallow, out deep, mid-range, really anywhere. It works really good. One of my favorite baits to throw. So that is one of my first fall fishing, or that's my first fall fishing bait that I like to throw. Next is one that I mentioned at the beginning that it actually could be taken 2 ways. There's another bait that's very similar to it, and actually 2 other baits, and that is a paddle tail or a underspin. And yeah, right now I throw this on an Owner Flashy Swimmer hook with a willow leaf blade on it. I actually found recently Owner Flashy Swimmer hooks with a gold Colorado blade on it, so I'm going to give that a try here soon too. And I've got a Strike King Rage Swimmer on here. I believe it's a 4-inch Rage Swimmer, somewhere around there. And yeah, once again, mimic baitfish. That's why I have this white or silver color on here. It mimics the baitfish really well. Another thing is I will throw this as an underspin with an exposed hook if I'm fishing deeper water, or one of the other baits that mimics it really well, or is you can go straight with a weedless hook without the underspin on it. That works really well too in the fall. Yeah, I just prefer throwing the underspin. I think it gives it a little bit more flash, and I think it just helps the presentation a little bit more. So I enjoy throwing it with the underspin on it a lot more than any. But yeah, this works really good. I had a few bites on it, but unfortunately they were only grabbing the tail, and I couldn't get a hook set when they were only grabbing the tail of it. So yeah, this works really well. One without the underspin works really well, and one of them that's one of the most known, or one version or somewhat version of this, which is one of the most known fall time baits to use, is the spinnerbait. I categorize this in there with the underspin just because it's very similar, except this just has a skirt on it. Same way, it works really good. I categorize it in there with the underspin or the paddle tail swim bait. I've got a Kitech Impact Swimmer on the back. It's just got a skirt on it, and it's got a willow leaf and a Colorado blade on there. So if I'm not throwing that underspin, most likely I'm going to be throwing the spinner bait. But I'm not counting this as another bait in there. It just lies in that category of paddle tails or underspins. So yeah, that is my second bait, and let's get into the third. So my third bait to throw, and there's a lot of controversy on this bait in the fall, but it works any time of year. Personally, I think it works any time of year, and that is a football head jig. This, I think it works really good. All the fish are feeding up in the winter, or in the fall, and a lot of the fish, they feed on crawdads or crawfish, and that's why I think it works really good any time of year, because they're always feeding, but specifically in the fall they're feeding the most out of any of the other times of the year. So that's why I like throwing a football head jig. Right now I've got a 1/2 ounce on here, so I can throw like medium depth water, like maybe 10 foot of water, up to 10 foot of water. But yeah, you can really throw it anywhere. In the fall, if there's still brush in the water, I know a lot of reservoirs drain their lake level quite a bit in the fall. So if there still is brush in the water, you can flip up and brush, and there will still be fish sitting up there in the brush because they'll start to move up shallow. And also, if you have deep structure, you can throw a jig like this out in deep structure, and you can just slowly work it over that structure, and you can pull those, either the smallmouth or largemouth that haven't transitioned up yet, you can pull them out because of fishing it that way. So yeah, it's a good technique. I chose a smaller type of jig right here instead of a bigger one like I throw in the summer. And yeah, overall it's one of my favorite fall time fishing baits. Next is a mid-diving crankbait. I choose this in here because, like I just mentioned, a lot of the fish sit in that medium depth water and they're working their way up. So right now I think that's a really good choice to throw, is a medium dive crankbait. And once again, everything I throw in the fall is mimicking that baitfish presentation. Everything at our local lake that we were fishing had a lot of shad in it that looked like this. So that's why I chose this color of I think this is a 6 or 5XD, but this is a 12-foot version of the 5XD. So it's really good. You cast out, you just work it slow. You can get really good bites on these. 2 weeks ago when me and Skylar were out at a lake, we were pre-fishing, and within the first 15 minutes of being at our spot, I threw a crankbait and I pulled up 2 or 3 fish. So it's a really good tactic to throw. It gets the fish biting. If you reel it right by them, they'll see it and they'll hit it because they think it's a bait fish leaving the bunch, and it's vulnerable to those attacks by the bass. So that's one of my favorites to throw also. So lastly is something about everybody loves to throw in the fall. And like I've mentioned, there's groups of bait fish, they ball up into the fall, and bass feed on schools of baits. And that's why this technique works really good in the fall. Now unfortunately, a lot of tournaments ban these from getting used in the tournaments because of that reason, even though they're legal to use. So yeah, here is an A-rig. This specifically is a skirted frenzy A-rig. I prefer skirted just because I think it gives it a little bit more pop, and I like the frenzies. I think they're a high quality A-rig, and they're not that expensive either. They already have good components on them when you buy them. So yeah, that's why I throw this. Yeah, this rod, or this type of bait works really good just because of it mimicking a school of bait fish. So on here you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fish, and of course I put my 2 top ones up really far, the dummy ones up really far, so the fish can't hit them. And typically I would have a different color on this middle one, but I didn't have any different colors when I was rigging it up for this past week, so I just have all the same colors. But I've gotten big bites on it. When fish hit this, they slam it. Yeah, this works really good in the fall just because of having that bait fish presentation, and it's one that I would highly suggest if you're just going out to catch some fish in the fall. This is definitely a bait that you're going to want to have with you. It works really good, and you can get some big bites on this too. But don't think you only catch big fish on A-rigs. You can catch big fish on it. I've caught even fish a little bit smaller than this size of the bait, or a little bit bigger than this size of the bait, so maybe like an 8-inch fish. So yeah, any size fish will hit it, any types of fish will hit it too. And yeah, just overall a great bait to throw in the fall for bass. Alright guys, well, thank you for sticking around for this episode of OPH Outdoors, and I hope you guys learned something, or at least got an idea of some of my favorite baits to throw in the fall, and maybe you guys can start throwing these too, or maybe you already do, and maybe it can help you get more better bites or more bites in the fall. So if this video helped you learn a little bit about fall fishing, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to drop in the comments below about what other types of videos you guys would like to see. And here in the next few days, we'll post a overview of our tournament that we just fished the other day. And yeah, we'll get a few more videos out. We'll start doing some fly fishing again here soon. It's starting to cool back down, getting into good trout fishing weather. And then who knows, we might do a little bit of ice fishing this fall or this winter too. So yeah, thanks for watching guys. Make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.